बुद्धिहीन तनु जान के।
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for what you're doing. I love content like this. I watched a couple of your episodes and stuff, and it's very flattering, everything you're saying. Like, I even have my partner will even tell me that I'm like incredible or something like that sometimes, and I'll just be like, actually, don't like thinking about that myself personally, because I'm always afraid of my ego taking over and thinking like, wow, I never want to feel that. I love feeling like I'm just another kid at the playground, Yeah, with everybody else. No, I don't know.
Well, that's
But yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Would you give the audience a little background where your journey has taken you to kind of mold you into the person you are and things like that?
Sure, yes. So on paper, I'm just a barista in Brooklyn, right? On paper, right? But I am under the delusion that I am the reincarnation of a well-known sage from Korea named Won-hyo, okay? Because I had the same enlightenment experience as him, and there's things we have a lot in common. And I was in denial about this for a long, long, long time. But we're obviously the same person. And then and I get visions of this lesser known Buddha known as the Vairochana Buddha. But I have a history of like nearly dying multiple times. There's like a bunch of miraculous incidents, and I don't think I'm supposed to be here, right? And basically, this is the earth where I just won't. I didn't die yet, but I should be dead, really. So, and I have a mission, and I was activated, but there was a big period where I was an atheist. And initially, my parents, they met at church in Queens, and they really liked each other, and I was born or whatever. But a month in, so my mother, both of her parents died when she was 26, right? And then she was married afterwards. But she was married before. She had a first husband. But during the death of her parents, he wasn't really supportive and stuff. And he started sort of resenting it. And she realized, like, I can't be with this person. So she divorced him. And then she met my father, who's like very gentle and very like monk-like, but he's not a monk, right?
Mm.
And then a month into my life, I had a cyst in my throat. It was blocking my breathing. And they told my mother they're going to try to do a emergency surgery procedure. And there's like a 25% chance of his survival. And she was 27. I was like, when I hit 27, I was like, what the hell were you thinking? That's crazy, right? Because it didn't hit me till I was like that age, right? And she said, well, I prayed to God that I would accept your death, right? And I was like, what? Like, not save my son, save my. She was like, if he has to die, I understand. I was like, what the fuck? Because her parents just died the year before, right? Yeah. So she's an orphan. And then she married into a family where she was resented because she was divorced. And I found out my grandmother was like super mean to her and shit. And then I survived. And it was in the New York Post full page miracle baby. It's like I have a photo of it. I had like, right? It was the front cover of the Korea Times of New York.
Yeah.
And then later when I was 3, I had an infection in my adenoid, and I couldn't breathe anymore. I was turning blue, and I was helicoptered to a hospital in Colorado. I was in Denver at the time. And that's when my memories kick in for the first time. So like my first memories, I'm 3 years old, and I'm in a dark hospital bed, and I'm puking blood into like a yellow bucket. And I remember just puking blood and thinking like, whoa, and I had tubes in my arms and everything. I'm just like sitting there. But this is baseline reality, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's anything wrong. To me, that is life. Yeah. Like being groggy, in pain, not knowing what's happening, like feeling all fucked up, that is reality. So my dad comes and he's like, hey, you want anything? I'll get you anything you want. And I'm like, what I'm getting really like scared because I'm like, what do you mean anything? Why are you saying that? And it freaked me out that he was desperate to get me anything I wanted. It was very disconcerting. So I told him, yeah, okay, whatever, Ghostbuster walkie-talkies, right? So he goes out, but he's an immigrant, right? He doesn't know what he's doing. Comes back with regular walkie-talkies. He's looking at me all desperate, and I'm holding them, and I go, thanks, Dad, and I lie. I act like he got what I wanted, but he didn't. And then he's relieved, right? And then it's just like, I realize when I'm 3 that no one knows what's going on, that the adults don't know. They're not conscious of their unconscious minds at all. And I realize like everyone is like that, and it scares the shit out of me. And I'm like, and I got like anxiety attacks a lot as a child because I realized like no one was really in charge. It was like, and all the adults were fools. Like, but it's like not. It was, it was hard.
Right.
Yeah. Then I don't know. I was sick, and I remember hearing one of Aesop's fables about how about the king who heard a prophecy about his son being killed by a lion. So to protect his son, he contained his son in a room, and he made sure he could never leave that room, this luxurious room, right? When the son came of age, he was so resentful of this prophecy, and they installed a painting of a lion, right? And he's so mad, he punches the painting, but he slips and he pricks his hand on like a thorn or something, and it gets infected, and he dies anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So then I hear this fable. I go out into the playground telling the kids, I'm like, oh my God, you guys, we don't have to fear death. The fear of death is an illusion. It prevents us from living life, right? So then I'm like on the jungle gym, and I'm like hanging there, and they try to put the fear of death in me, right? They collectively were trying to make me fear like for my life.
Yeah.
I remember thinking like, oh, that's crazy. Like I still do fear death, even though intellectually I know I'm not supposed to, right? But like I'm 6, I shouldn't be. I don't know, but kids are, I think, much more receptive than we realize. And yeah, I don't know. And then I was an atheist for a while because I understood the theology of the Christ. I understand Jesus, the prophet, but not necessarily the God. I think of Jesus more like a really smart rabbi who was able to like recontextualize the Old Testament for a new age where it's all love, But the church is not about that at all, generally speaking. So then I lost my faith.
Mm-hmm.
I was an existentialist from the age of like, I don't know, 12. No, not 12. Like 18 to like 28. But that whole time as an atheist, I would, speak to the universe still, and like, and still have visions and miraculous events occur. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A lot of, like, there's names for all of us, but star seeds, helpers, whatever we all are, the labels. There's a very similar path that everybody has gone through, because what you said you've gone through, I've gone through quite a bit myself.
Right.
And I've noticed that it's kind of there's a trend, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We go through a lot of suffering, and then what happens is we start to open our eyes. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, I fully believe space-time is a human illusion, right? That we need in order to eat, shit, and fuck, and that's it. That's the only reason it exists. And if we saw reality as it was, we would just be like, there's like catatonic in it, and then we would just shit ourselves and die, like, because we cannot see reality as, it's like too much, right?
Right.
And I think actually, like me and One Hero, the guy I'm a reincarnation of, I do think we're also two separate individuals, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
It's just that we seem to be living the same energy signature simultaneously through space-time. So, and that's how you can have like 20 Jesuses, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because if space-time is an illusion, I don't think people are fully processing what that means. So that also means like you can pray for ancestral love, or like you be ancestral love for the future.
Right.
Like you are it now on the highest level in order to send that energy out into the future. And like fucking you're the ghost in the past already, sending out these things into the future. Like instead of just like, whoa, give me, where are you? Like you fucking you send it out. Yeah.
Right. You become that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. One of your videos that I watched, you had talked about the idea of radical kindness.
Yeah.
I really like that because, like you said in the video, that is one thing that helped me break through the veil too. Was realizing, like as an example, when I was a kid, I used to go around and I would have my aunt buy like sandwiches and stuff, and I would give it out to homeless people.
Yeah.
Just to do it. And,
Yeah.
and that was it. Every once in a while, I
Right.
have a conversation with them, but I really like the way that you stated the idea of radical kindness. So do you mind expanding on that a little bit?
Yeah, so like a lot of like, new age people, they're like, we're all one. But then you get like upset that you're waiting online for too long for your coffee or whatever. And I'm just like, yo, I don't know if you really get it yet, right? Because like, if we are one truly, right, helping a stranger for nothing to get nothing in return is almost the highest like 3D expression of unity consciousness that exists. It's like you're fucking manifesting it into this reality. Like the funny thing about this realm, even though people are like, I want to be 5D and all that shit, is that this is where alchemy happens. Like we live in a world where I can hold my hand out and have like electricity flying into my hand. I'm not fucking dead, right? Like that can happen, right? That doesn't make sense. That's magic. That's like, but we are capable of creating things that are just impossible, like, and sort of the game of this reality, because if we were fully aesthetic beings in the first place, like if we were just energy beings, we would just be like,
yeah,
that's all there would be, right?
So
you have to be contained at all in order to know what it even means to be released. And this stage is just like more of a character development stage. It's more just to figure out who are you,
right?
And then you're out. There's no real rules to this necessarily,
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, kind of like what you said. A lot of the people I talk to, I don't call them students, but people I help. It's interesting when that light bulb flicks, right? When we were thinking that we are somebody in here doing something,
Yeah.
and then we have that switch to we are that, but we are also this, and this. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Whatever the label is that you want to call it, we realize that we're having this movement in vibration. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that I liked that you had said was when the veil lifted, you had like that you had described kind of like the feeling, and I don't want to like take your words of your feeling, but how did that feel?
How do you mean?
So like when you noticed the veil had lifted, and that feeling.
Okay. So the thing is, everything is transactional. Like we live in a capitalist society, and if you really look at everything, all relationships seem to be transactional. Everything one's doing is transactional. So when you commit to radical non-transactionalism, you realize how much everyone is living with scarcity mindset on a much deeper level, because it goes against, like, it feels weird at first to help a stranger hardcore and get nothing and like never see them again. It's very strange at first, but the more you get used to it, the more it's nothing, and the more you just feel like you know yourself, right? But then you realize how scared everyone is and how everyone's living in fear, and you become more fearless. But it's not because it's because you realize, like, because when you do that kind of thing for a human being, if you help a stranger move or whatever, like that idea that like, no one's got your back, but you're like toxic family, right? Like only family, right, or whatever, right? It's like that human being can never honestly say that again for the rest of their life. Now in that God's reality, they don't live in a reality where a stranger would never help you. In fact, they now live in a reality where strangers come and help you. People say New Yorkers are all rough and tough and shit, but if you really are fucked up, a bunch of strangers will like take you home, buy you food. Like when people, because it's so fucked up here, that when someone's really fucked up, you will never see any other people's like support like strangers like here.
That's interesting.
Because like ultimately New York and Manhattan's all going to be underwater in the future, right? So we are currently living in Atlantis.
Yeah,
Right, we are living in Atlantis right now, and it's gonna be swept away, and it's gonna be a legendary city in the future. The city, there was a place called New York, and like they're like, no, there was fuck. There's no such thing as New York,
Their
Yeah.
History Channel is gonna have a special about it.
Yeah. Known as New York, and you're like, what?
Well, I'm in
They
Florida.
called it an apple. Like apple is the symbology of it. We see apples all over the Johnny Appleseed. And I was like, what?
It was Satan.
Yeah, it's saying planting seeds all across America, and that was
Well, and I'm in Florida, so I'm probably going to be the new Lemuria or something.
the war that started between Atlantis and the New York and the Floridians.
Right.
They came from the sea, like
They had something called Florida Man.
yeah. They used reptile chariots to come in.
So one thing that I liked about the entirety of your videos that I saw is that you seem to have some very well understood ideas of some spiritual concepts, right? So
Mhm.
one thing I was kind of thinking is, do you have like a base of spiritual principles that you follow that you may want to give to somebody that's coming behind you, and you know what I mean?
Sure. One, I would say that I believe we're all actually polytheists. I don't think there is such a thing as monotheism at all. I think if you're a Christian, you believe in astrology, you're a polytheist. They're not supposed to be compatible. And people worship Elon Musk, Taylor Swift more than any god, right? So in a sense, we're actually all polytheists. And if we stop pretending we're monotheists, we don't have to fight anymore. This ultimately, in the end, I think at the last moment before you die, I believe when everyone dies, there is a biological mechanism that occurs where you experience an endogenous DMT release over the brain, and the illusion of space-time begins to merge and coalesce, and every act of kindness that's ever happened to you in your life is happening all at once. And that's why you realize, oh, shit, it was all about love. Oh my God, right? And it's this like super embodied feeling, and it will happen, right? And that's the only compassion there is in death, because death is the most brutal thing there is, right? So that the only compassion is in that knowledge that it was actually all about love, right? So every act of kindness you ever do, especially for a stranger, if they happen to die cold and alone somewhere, if you're kind to them at all, you will help them, give some sort of comfort to them in that horrible moment, right? That's why we have to be kind to each other, right? So just do your best you can, and like also be compassionate to yourself and create a sacred space to suck for yourself, because every expansion must come with a contraction afterwards. That's nature. Every expansion has a slight contraction, okay? So when you feel like you suck, make it sacred. Like, just make that space sacred, because it's supposed to happen for the next expansion, because the only things that just expand are cancer and stock market expectations.
Right.
That's it, because the way corporations understand profit doesn't make sense. It's unnatural, right? But it's like you have to realize it's about being kind and yeah, connection. Life is about connection, not survival. So in the beginning, everyone's raised to believe, capitalism's all about like life and death stakes, life and death. Oh my God, so like ultimately, if you can go beyond that life and death shit, whether you have to wear a blue shirt or a red shirt for the job interview, because one is gonna get it for you and one's not, and if you don't get the job, you're fucking dead or whatever, right? It's more about connection. Am I gonna feel connected at this job? Do I? And once you understand that, and that's the journey, it's like you can tell people everything they need to know, but then they just have to fucking get slapped around until. And then also enlightenment. It's not up there. Everyone's looking for the holy person to give them enlightenment, but I believe enlightenment is every bounce from the bottom. Enlightenment occurs at the bottom bounce, and if you're looking up for enlightenment, that means you might have to fall a little, because you're not understanding,
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, because the thing is, like, look, all the religions, Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, whatever, all these people, it's the same story, okay? Some person goes into the desert or the woods or the fucking forest for like 30 to 50 days, okay? They barely eat. They fast. They all do this, right? And then their body's dying, right? And then they have this like trip experience. Oh my God, we're all one. We have to love each other, right? And they come out and they're like, okay. And they have unity consciousness, so they're able to create really great solutions to problems really fast. And they're telling everyone it's all about love. And as soon as they die, all the group like fights for power, and it's all corrupted immediately. It always happens, right?
Oh yeah.
And Thich Nhat Hanh, the Tibetan monk, he said before he died that he believes the next Buddha will be the Sangha, not an individual, but communities, right?
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking at it as like right now, what we need is collective Buddhas, like collective healers and groups. No more one leader thing. Like I think that's always gets corrupted.
Yeah.
And if we see it also as a plurality of ideas, so like, I'll propose like a digital book project called the Book of Polytheism, where I write a book called Book of Dank hashtag, a deconstructionist Buddhism. And it's just a story of your life and how you believe what you believe and why you know it's true. That's it.
Yeah.
Up to the point where you read a book, right?
Right.
And then you add it to the Book of Polytheism. And anyone can add a book. As long as they read a book, they can add a book. And you'll see it branch out into like the Christianity branch, QAnon branch, right? Who knows? LGBT branch, right? Atheism, right? Hashtag atheism.
Yeah.
And this tree will grow out and branch out, and you'll see this like living document keep growing online like a tree, and you realize like it's all connected to the. Because if you go back far enough genetically, like you're related to every living thing. Like plants are your cousins, and that's kind of weird, They have cells like we do, and I don't know.
They got same atoms that are in us.
Things with eyeballs, you're like, man, at some point, we're cousins, man, damn. Ow.
The fun one is when you see the eyeballs on the things that don't actually have eyeballs.
But yes, actually, no, I have ordered googly eyes many times.
Nice.
I legit, I'll order Amazon googly eyes, put them all over the city.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And then another pro tip, if you know someone had a child, go out and get like the New York Times, like a bunch of magazines, and collect it, give it to them as a gift, and be like, give it to the kid when they're 13. And it will blow the minds of the parents. They're gonna be like, what? Because print won't exist.
Yeah.
And when that kid's 13, if they're alive, they're gonna be like, wow,
What is this? I don't even know how to operate this thing.
But it's gonna just blow their mind. And the reason I know this is because they saved the newspapers from when I almost died. So when I saw it later, because I didn't know the story of my like near-death experiences, then I cracked my skull. I've had seizures. I don't know. But
I was talking about the patterning. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What did it feel like when you realized that's what you were going through as a child?
I didn't know anything was weird. It was more like being told none of it's real more and more, and thinking like learning about the world of adults, and because I remember like how childhood was, and I remember how different we were wasn't that big a deal. It didn't matter. It didn't really matter. And then like when you're 7, 8, it matters. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I remember that magic time so distinctly. And I think there's like a connection between that. Like, so during the stoning of the woman story with Jesus, like when they're going to stone the woman, they're telling Jesus like, yo, it's the law. Let's do this. Come on, let's do this. And he's just like, okay, whoever doesn't have sin should start, right?
Go ahead. Yeah.
But what people miss in the story is that he goes on the ground and he just starts doodling in the dirt. And it doesn't tell you exactly what he's drawing. But he's just like doodling like a little kid in the dirt. And as that's happening, everyone just kind of like is like, holy shit, right?
Yeah.
I think that's sort of the key to that story. It's like when you see what childhood is sort of like, it's like, what the fuck are we doing? I've seen people, political action committees meet the grown adults. They're like, how do we protect our children? I'm like, yo, all your kids of your enemies and your kids, they'll get along perfectly at a playground. It's the adults that don't know how to do this, So I think that was a privilege I've had is being able to maintain such a powerful link to my childhood, because my conscious self-awareness and the awareness of others' unconscious minds happened way younger than normal, because I feel like it's usually in your 20s when you realize your parents don't know anything, or that they weren't as rock solid in their authority as you thought. But like, I knew that when I was 3, you know? But I don't wish it on anyone. I think it was really traumatic, actually, you know? I really lost my mind realizing nobody knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
It's like in
Yeah.
AP statistics. If you take AP stats, right, you realize like drug companies, the reason they know this drug does that is because statistically speaking, this drug does that, statistically this much, and statistically it does that too. And it gives you a boner, right? Like, that's like, because that's not the original purpose of Prozac. I mean, not Prozac. What's that called? The erection drug? No, the erection drug. Viagra.
Yeah.
But Viagra was originally supposed to be a heart medication. Like, they actually don't know deep down exactly how the fuck most drugs work. It's all based on statistical analysis.
Yeah.
And that actually blew my mind, because I had thought when I was like 11 years old, I thought, well, they know what drugs are. And then when I was 12, I learned about this, and I was like, wait, they don't know what the fuck they're really doing? Like, they can't tell you deep down what is going on?
Yeah.
That's crazy, you know? I don't know. I didn't know my mind controlled. I don't know. I could talk about a lot of things.
Well, one thing that really helped me when I did realize that adults didn't know what they were doing was to realize they didn't know what they were doing in like all aspects. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
And it was really interesting for me because you spoke of Thich Nhat Hanh. There was a book that he wrote. It was called Be the Flower, or
Sure.
Flower. He used to have a meditation, and he would say "flower fresh."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting, because that really helped me realize that aspect of kindness, and it helped me be able to have kindness towards other people, right? Because for a little time, I felt like I was cheated, or I was in that victim mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever feel like you were ever a victim, or was it automatically, you know, I went through, and now I know to help people?
Yeah, so like, okay, up until very recently, Asian men have been the least desirable men in America. Like, this is not my opinion. This was data. This is known through data. They found out during like the data crunching of like these dating websites, East Asian dudes, right? So growing up, and people were very openly racist to me, you know, growing up all my life in America. So, and the stereotype about Asian Americans is that we're like meek, and we work hard, and we're not charismatic, we're not creative, but we're smart, right? So I always had to like kind of prove, like, I don't know, I always end up surprising people whenever they realize I'm creative, you know, and that used to bother me a lot. But then I realized, like, if I was around 25, I like fully accepted, like, if I was born in Korea, because even I thought I was ugly. I just thought I was ugly my whole life until very recently, right? But when I visited Korea when I was 12 for the first time, and everyone's treating me completely differently, and I don't know what's happening. So I resented being born here for a long time. But then I realized, like, if I was born there, I might have been like so, you know, doing so well that I wouldn't know anything, you know, like because of how I've been treated here, I know on a much deeper level what it is to be any minority, any queer person, woman, all that shit, you know, like I know it on such a deeper level because I'm a minority here, you know, and I wouldn't know that. I couldn't know that if I was born in Korea. So then I'm like, oh my God, I had to be born here. I had to know this feeling. That's why I love working as a barista too, because like technically I've helped very famous people reach the heights of world fame, right? Nice. But on paper, I'm a barista, right? So like, people treat me like, oh, he's just a barista, right? You know, and I love it. I'm like, oh, they have no idea, because part of it is like I can totally be in environments where everyone knows I'm awesome or whatever,
right?
But that's boring, right?
For sure.
I love, and then that feeling of someone looking down on you just because of your position.
Yeah.
I love knowing that. I don't want to ever forget that feeling, because like that is technically, in my opinion, how most humans on earth are feeling. I never want to forget that. So like one of the main things I do for the famous people is I help them remember what it's like to be normal again, or what it is to be in hell right now. Because I find that when you're very successful, you like live in a bubble and you forget exactly how painful despair is, and you can come across as insensitive or out of touch. So I help them remember, like how fucked up shit is.
Yeah, for sure. No, I
Yeah.
totally understand that. I actually work at a mail room inside of a bank.
Mm-hmm.
Literally the same thing. I have
Right.
people that are, making $500,000 a year, or investment bankers, and
Oh yeah.
$10,000 suits, and they'll say something, and I'll just look at them with those eyes of kindness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, also like I'll bring. So I've been afforded because I've been doing barista work for so long, and I'm technically like proficient at it. I will also be like engaging customers in a way that makes them just like literally be like, they'll as they're leaving, they're like, wow,
Yeah.
that's just gonna, man, I feel like this whole day is gonna be different. Like I will leave them saying that shit out loud to me, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm not trying to do it. I just like, I will see a human so deeply that it's like they wake up. Cause I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, you're God. You're fucking God. Don't you know? Like, wake up,
And
you're not just a
wanted the chai
person.
tea.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's everywhere. I see it everywhere I go. Like, I don't know. I engage with a lot of really, people in the bottoms of the, like, I don't know. Like I feed like people like here hand to mouth in this neighborhood. There's a lot of schizophrenic people. I like, I'll buy them groceries. I'll be like, yo, listen, I got a credit card, but like I'm not rich, okay? Okay, so like get a couple things, but I'm not rich, you know what I'm saying? They'll be like, oh yeah, I got you. Like, all right. We'll go in like kids and be like, all right, yeah. I'll be like, yes. All right, yeah. No, get another one, And it's like fun. We have a whole game of it. Or I don't know. I've also like risked my life sometimes, which my mom is not a big fan of.
Yeah.
But so far I haven't. Yeah, I mean, I try not to put myself in danger, but I've been accidentally put in dangerous situations without me knowing how dangerous it was. But I make it through pretty well. I'm pretty cunning, I would say. People don't. Yeah.
Resourceful.
It's good to have doubt. What's up?
Resourceful, I feel. Very
Well, I mean, in the city, I gotta be scrappy and cunning. It's like it's like that thing, like all the rich people can buy their friends like a crazy baby shower gift or give them a giant gift certificate or whatever. I give them a fucking newspaper and a magazine. They're gonna remember me forever. And I spent like $15. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I'm scrappy. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be scrappy. Like,
I love that.
we can go to a super fancy meal and whatever, and that's fun. Or I can cook you a home cooked meal, and you will remember that dinner for the whole year. Like, but that cost me $20, right?
Right. Not
Like
just $300 at some restaurant.
Yeah, because when you feed someone, it's also telling someone, hey, live. Hey, would you live?
Yeah.
Do you mind if living? Right? And like
yeah, for sure.
And all the gods of every religion favor those that host, especially travelers and guests and strangers. Yeah, it's like, because life is so fucking brutal. That's why, like, that kindness that comes out, like the flower that emerges out of the mud.
Yeah.
It's like that's part of the metaphor with Thich Nhat Hanh. It always emerges from the mud.
Right.
From the dirt,
Right.
The beautiful thing. That's how we know. We need that contrast, unfortunately.
Well, and I honestly, I feel like those societies that wrote the text, or the religious text, or whatever you want to say, I feel they knew how integral a part of feeding each other like that is in a society where it's not. about me. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's a myth that's our culture actually, that it's been that way all the time. I think that's a capitalist myth that started during the Cold War, because that time capitalism had to now compete against communism, because before that capitalism was just a great tool.
Yeah.
Then during the Cold War it became a moral value.
Right.
And then when the Carter presidency looked like it failed because of the recession that occurred, everyone blamed liberals and they went to Reagan, and greed is good and corporate welfare and all this shit. And we've been brainwashed into thinking that we love being selfish, and selfishness is the highest moral value of culture. Sure. But it's a lie. It's a lie, and you can disprove it on your own just by acting up. Like, if any skill set you have, that if you can tithe 10% of it to anyone for free, instead of tithing money because you're scrappy, right? You don't have money, right? Tithe 10% of your service skills to the world, right? Mm-hmm. And that's enough to change everything. If everyone did that, it would change the whole world. Just tithe. And you think people are like, oh, that's too much, I don't have time. No, you do have time, because most of the time this is what's happening, right?
Yep.
Or take 50% of this time, right? And use that for the service thing, because it's hard at first. It doesn't feel as good right away because you're not getting the slot machine thing. You're not getting that, right? Because you might be sweating and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck did I do? But in the end, you have an afterglow that will last fucking forever. That's the thing. Acts of kindness give you a pleasure that lasts indefinitely, whereas like everything else about yourself, as soon as you have it, you don't care because you want the next one, and then the next one comes, and then you don't care because there's another one, and it's fucking nonsense, you know?
It's for sure. I mean, one of my teachers, he was asked one time by a student, how can we realize God? And his answer was feed people. So I mean, honestly, like what you're saying is in line with the way I was understood and like taught and things like that. I think it's really interesting how you said commit 10% of the time.
Yeah, right.
Because to the Judeo-Christians, right, the tithing is supposed to be 10%.
Right. Because they're giving it to these fucking rich assholes, right? That are like, what the fuck? Like like the Jesus cult, okay? Because when it started, it was a cult, right?
Yep. Yep.
Most of the members were mendicants, and they took nothing from anyone, you know? Like, or they took just enough to, like, when they say give us our daily bread, that's not like I'm grateful for stuff. It's saying like, no, today, please, today, give us bread today. Like, they're literally saying this day, because that's how fucking they were not hoarding wealth. It's harder to go to heaven than a motherfucking camel to go through an eye of a needle, right? So like, how on earth does a prosperity gospel exist? It doesn't. It's such a cognitive dissonance. I have trouble with it. Gives me chills.
I try to analyze the psychology of how they did that one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I can infer and find the reasoning and all that behind that, those are the triggers I could hit to help those people wake up, you know?
No, it was John Milton tried to warn all the Christians about this, that this is how, like, that's why Satan was positioned as the hero in that poem, right? Because it is so seductive, pretending like making money is good for the world. That is one of the greatest fucking, like, yo, you gotta have a vision that it's like, okay, so I also help people get money from rich people, right? If they need to.
Right.
And one of the main things I tell people is like, literally, if you want money for your shit, your vision, you have to remove money completely from your vision. Because people with money, they can make money on money. They can invest in money and make more money than blowing it on your dumb ass, right? The only reason they're ready to blow their money, not make money. They're not trying to make money. That's not what they're doing with that money. They want to feel passion.
Yeah.
And if you have any sense of I need money, they smell you a mile away. Oh, like, fuck this guy, because all they want is pure passion, and that only exists when there's no money, which is like it's a stupid, it's like a ridiculous catch-22, but when you do it, it actually works. Like that, just people can't get it out because they still believe in money. Because mommy and daddy say, you get attention for being good or bad, but not for nothing. Like, because ultimately, deep down, we just wanted attention for nothing.
Right.
So then we think we have to do this fucking thing or that thing to be loved, instead of that you are love.
Yeah.
Yeah, because but that's children have to believe that in order to survive. That's the thing. That's why it's a trick. It's a sad, sad trick.
I really feel like in the near future that's going to be a switch of parenting technique. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm already seeing the greatest fathers in human history. Like, if you think about it, like fathers that are actually engaging their children in a way that's never actually happened in this cycle of human civilization. Like, we've never literally had this happen. So we may be raising the greatest generation humankind has ever seen just by that simple metric, and we're like taking this for granted. Like, I'm so optimistic. Immigration is how we survive everything, because every other country, they're like not allowing immigration. There's no children. They don't have children. You need children to pay into the pension system, otherwise the economy collapses. Immigration keeps money flowing in the system. You need it to pay the pension systems. I'm not even like I don't know. I'm just saying I'm optimistic, and there are solutions, and these kids are gonna figure it out because they actually believe they can solve it, instead of millennials and older that are like, yeah, what's the point? It's use because they don't want to deal with the guilt and shame they have for not giving a fuck. That's really what's going on. I think when older people act like it's useless, they just can't confront. Because that's the thing about brainwashing. When you realize you were wrong about something, it's not that you're just, oh, I'm wrong. Ooh. It's not that. It's that, wait, I was wrong 120,000 times. Because it's not one, it's so many things you did wrong. So, and the human ego cannot process that kind of wrongness. So it just like, it will block out. It will be like, no, I can't accept that's a thing. Nope, because it's too big. Yeah, and that's how it works. It's easy to brainwash people, by the way. So be careful, yo. There's a lot of charlatans and grifters out there.
Right.
Yeah, it's rough. I met a lot of them. I met a lot of these people, like the top grifters. You gotta be careful, folks.
Yeah.
Be discerning, please.
Well, even I've heard in the spiritual community, like we have it worse than even close to the Christians. There's grifters and people out there just trying to steal your money or do other bad crap to you for no reason other than
The thing is, yeah. So like the holiest person I ever met, I think the most genuine prophet I ever met was this like old like 60-year-old Japanese woman, right, in Vermont, right, and she had these prophetic dreams when she was 16. She was suicidal, and she had these two prophetic dreams, and they were exactly like prophet dreams. The way she did, I was like, oh my god, that's totally an original prophet. And she had red text in the dream and all this shit. I was like, wow. And she knew the meaning of life, and she was no longer suicidal, and she enjoyed being present and everything, right? And she's just a mother with a loving husband that has a business and a non-binary child, and that's it. And no one knows she exists. Like, nobody knows. Like, and she doesn't need anyone to know. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. Like, I met the holiest person, and they don't care. Like.
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the big keys of how great those people are. Right, is they get past even the I am a person, I am a spiritual being. They get past all of that, right? I think that increases their vibrations where they're some of those brightest lights.
I had done a spiritual experiment where I made a Buddha of myself, okay? It got this 3D printed at a company or whatever.
Very cool.
So the idea is you pose as your highest self, and you have that as a Buddha. It's something within you. It's not anything outside of yourself. Like, everyone do it for yourself, right? So I got it done for somebody else too. I met the security guard at the weed dispensary, right? And I would see him light up every human that walked in, but he was doing it at a rapid clip, like unearthly, right? But like I do that too as a barista, but I never saw someone else do it. And I was like, dude, what is that you're doing? I was like, dude, I can see what you're doing. You know, he's like, oh, I call it spreading stardust on people. I was like,
Right.
dude, you kidding me, right? And I was like, hey, and I just fucking met this guy. I'm like, hey, listen, this is gonna sound a little weird, but if you're free on Thursday, I want to pay for you to make a Buddha of yourself, right? And we got it, and I like paid for this total stranger to get it done too. It's like $300, right? But as we're doing it, and he's like, just can't believe what's happening. This guy comes up, and I'm talking to him about it. And he's the co-founder of the company. He's also like blown away by this whole idea, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? You know, like what is happening? Like what world am I living in? Like and he was so smitten with it that he even picked up one of the things in his own store, and he's like, he goes, yeah, I guess that's kind of what we're doing here. It was like I was telling him the purpose of his whole business almost. Like he was like, oh my, yeah, I guess that's, you know, like
light bulbs just going off, like,
yeah, and he wanted to talk more and reach out and stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
but and I meet like founders and, you know, executives and famous people all day because I don't care your fame. I just don't like. That's why I connect with these people. Like I connect with everyone and all of the spectrum of culture and society. Like even the worst stuff or whatever. You know, I could go to East New York. I could go to the Upper East Side. I code switch, if you will. Right. I'm very good at that. But yeah, Rich, I've never met a happy millionaire. I'll tell you that.
For sure.
Yeah, I've never met a millionaire that's like as content as these boat people I know in like the Rockaways that live on like 30K a year, and they live seasonally. They work seasonally, and they just like sail for the rest of the year. Like those, I never met a millionaire that's happier than those people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And but no one believes that. Like no one believes that shit. But it's true. I swear to God.
Well, and that gets back to the part about how they're so ingrained that money needs to be a thing. You know.
Yeah, no, vision needs to be the thing. A vision that creates connection, and then money will happen, or money will help that, especially if it's outside yourself and it's about being loved and unity consciousness. The universe will start to conspire with you to make these things happen, especially when it's about becoming love and not about yourself. That's how it works. It's fucking wild. And the people I've helped that have achieved, it's like once they really remove themselves,
yeah,
they became fucking world famous. And like it's disturbing, honestly. Sometimes how famous people get. It disturbs everyone. It's very disturbing. It does make it feel like reality is not as, you know, solid as we think it is. You know.
Right.
Yeah, it makes you see that alchemy is real. Yeah, when you say like, hey, you'll get a TED Talk and a book deal and the whole world will know you, and then like it happens. Like in less than 6 months, you're like, what's going on, man? Wait, what? What? I was being hopeful. You know, like I wasn't even like I was. None of it can happen, and also like none of it can happen, right?
Right.
Honestly, like I try to live my life so that if I die today, like if I got shot and I don't want to die and it hurts, I don't want to die. But if I realize I'm gonna die, right? I'll be like this, like, and that's it. Just like, you know, yeah. And like I tried, like, and that's all I just want to live in a world where people try. I don't need you to win, you know. Just try. Trying is so moving to me, you know, and yeah, making people realize they're seen and that they are God. It's the best joy in the world, and I get that all the time. So it's very strange. Like it's strange to feel wealthy when you're poor.
Right. Feel the abundance.
I'm literally like broke as fuck, and I know I feel more content than a lot of people with money, and I don't. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's like it's so hard to understand.
Well, and it's honestly, because I'm in the same place with that. Honestly, it's like you said, it's freeing in a way.
It's totally freeing. my God.
I would,
I
at
used to,
the moment, I
yeah.
would hate to have $4 million in the bank account that I have to check every 6 seconds to make sure it's all still there. You know what I mean?
I don't even know what money, like, I don't, like, money is just like, we all agreed. Like, money, you just believe in money. It's like, literally, money's nothing. It's not a thing. Like, we all decided collectively that we will have faith that money is real.
Yeah. And
You know, and then like they could be like, "Hey, money changed. It's gonna look like this now." We're like, "Okay, this is money now." It's like, "Really? Yeah, believe it." Like, okay, I believe it. Now it's got blue stripes, a blue hologram stripe.
Right.
I believe that is money.
And
It's like, what are we talking
like
about?
a coin on a computer.
Yeah, and it's based on no intrinsic thing, right?
Right.
I'm not an anti-money. I'm just saying it's all a game. That's my point. Yeah. This whole thing is a game, and to believe that money is the answer is not. Look, if you come from poverty, though, right? I'm not gonna tell you money isn't everything, okay? Because there's a certain amount of money you need, of course, to survive. I understand this, right? But anything beyond, wealth, accruing crazy wealth, pretty meaningless.
Yeah.
Pretty meaningless, yeah.
Yeah.
And it will ruin your children. You're gonna have horrible children.
Yeah.
It's very hard not to have terrible children if you're rich. Oh my God.
Right. Well, and they're feeding off of you. You know what I mean? That's I think where we're getting to, or at least I like you said, I'm hopeful that we will here soon get to where the parents, like you were saying, give the kids something more. You know what I mean? Like, I have a son.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting that you brought that up.
How old is he?
Because he's about to be 13.
13, okay. 13, wow.
And so, yeah.
Rough times, man. Oh, I remember that time.
It would be, right? But I treated him kind of like what you were saying. I treat him as a person. I show him when something is going wrong or something isn't, the way you want it. There's ways for you to move past that without taking on, the type of anger I had when I was younger or things like that. I mean, teaching them a different way, showing them a different way.
Yeah, you're that new dad. You're one of those new dads. You have no idea. I don't think you realize how important this is. I don't think the zeitgeist is aware of what's gonna occur because of this. I think we're all underestimating what this means. Like, I don't think people realize how bad it was that fathers were not connected to themselves and their vulnerability in the world. Like, it's bad for men and women. It's bad for everyone,
Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
And that's why I'm saying I'm very optimistic because I know at the very least I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing in the way I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like at work, like I'm 40, okay, so I'm literally 40 years old, and my coworkers will be like 23, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they can't believe they can't, but right, I feel like straight cis men, 20% of them are like sensitive and vulnerable, and I'm like, wow, that's fucking awesome. Like in their because when I was their age, it was like 2%. Like because it wasn't cool, but like it was cool to be like a tough guy, but whenever I see a tough guy, I see a scared man every time. There's no such thing. Like, you have to be scared to need to look scary. It's don't you understand? Don't you get it? It's like an exploit.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
And like to act apathetic when you're young, it's like, man, my God, be careful, because once you're in your 40s,
you're gonna care
you're dying for passion, or you're dying for it, right? So like, don't act like you're dispassionate, please. You're too young for that shit. Stop saying you're old. Don't say that. I don't want to hear that shit. I'm getting old. Like, no, stop. Don't say it.
No.
I really believe your mind has a lot to do with how young you look. For sure. And they proved it. There's research, there's data to back this up. You have to just remain curious and realize you don't know shit, and you'll stay young forever, right? Because if you know everything already, then like, congrats, you're done.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Like, you're done. And then you just get really old, right? Because you think you know everything.
Yeah. Honestly, I that's a lesson I learned a couple of years back. Was my mindset dictates my universe. right? So if
Yeah,
I'm going to
yeah,
live
it's
a
true.
loving awareness mindset, that's what my universe will be. You know what I mean?
I know. It's so fucking hard to understand this for people. I'm always trying to disseminate why it is so hard to conceptualize, or like that's sort of my mission, is communicating this shit with more clarity so people can, anyone on earth can click with it. Like I don't need you to believe technically, like necessarily, in any of the stuff in the new age at all.
Yeah.
Like that's my goal, is to reach people that are not in this at all, and then use fiction, because I write TV and film projects that are actually
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah.
And my biggest goal is to spread the Dharma through fiction, because fiction is a lie that people willingly believe in, right? So you're like, hey, enjoy this lie. It's like, okay, yeah, it's a lie. And it inspires them to realize, like, they can, like, because the super theme of everything I write is how an individual can change the entire world through a simple series of choices. And then it should be so entertaining that kids are like, oh my God, it's so goddamn entertaining, right? And as they watch it, right, it should click in their head, like, wait, I can do anything? And I'm like, yeah, you could do it. Like, that's the goal. It's not about making money, though. Like,
Right.
if I achieve that goal, I'll be rich beyond measure, but I don't give a fuck about the money.
Yeah.
Because I know this.
Hey, family. I hope you enjoyed this episode. So we had a little bit of audio difficulty near the end. Sometimes using Wi-Fi doesn't always allow it to pick up everything, but I hope you enjoyed the episode. Most of what Dank was talking about his social media and where you could find him, which I will include down in the description of the video. So I hope you all enjoyed. Have a beautiful day. If no one has told you, I love you. Namaste. Hello, family. This is Jaitra from the Hanuman Healing Hour. I wanted to come on and thank you for tuning in to this episode and tuning into all the episodes that you do. Your support has greatly kept me going. Just knowing that there are people that enjoy the content and enjoy the interviews makes me so happy. I do want to also announce that we are going to do 2 giveaways. The first is going to be a sticker giveaway. So a sticker and a bumper sticker from Baba's Feed Project. And then the next giveaway is going to be for the top contributor. So anyone who has the most comments or is selected from the comments, that is where we will pick them from. We will be giving away a beautiful little Om necklace, also from Baba's Feed Project. And again, I just want to thank you so much for being supportive and tuning in. Namaste.